Good morning, guys. In the last session, we discussed about our mini project requirement. Okay. And we have done the analysis also. What are the tables that we need to take, and what are the columns we need to take for that, and what are the Java classes we are going to take for that, and what are the UI pages we are going to take. And I have given some assignment on this requirement, like creating the classes and creating the methods which are required for that. So what are the methods we need to take, what are the parameters we need to take, and what are the return types we need to take. Anybody want to show me the assignment that you have completed?
Yes, sir. I just done the structure of our project.
Yes, okay, sir. Yeah, Pallavi, you can share your screen and show me what you have implemented in that.
Sure, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, it is moving. Yes, I can see that now. Counselor service.
So exactly the structure is like controller, details, entity, repository, services, and IMPL.
Yeah, can you show me service interface?
Yes. In this, you can see this. Inside this, I written this interface, counselor service. Okay, so I tried to write this of the methods. This okay, so I haven't read that. Inside the inquiry, I written these interfaces. Inside that, we have this to implement. Mm-hmm. And I am not getting one thing that inside DTO, we have to write that dashboard and another one.
Filter request, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not having that much of knowledge of DTO in depth. So yes, sir. So I think I'm done this controller. Okay, DTOs. Okay. And entities, whatever we have entities inside that, as per we discussed, whatever the fields we have to take. Okay, I taken that. Whatever email we have to do that unique. And next one in the inquiry, I have to do this thing as an foreign key. So I searched for that, how to do that. Then I come up with this relationship where menu to one counselor inside this one. Yeah. So yes, sir. I done this much.
Okay, good.
And in properties file, I have done the configuration of our SQL and Hibernate and whatever the POM XML, inside that POM XML, we are added the dependencies like we have data JPA, ThemeLeaf, starter web, dev tool for restarting. Automatically it will restart our application. MySQL connector, and it is default. Test one is the default one. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Can I stop now?
Yeah, that's fine. Good. Yeah, fine, guys. So look at this. I'm sharing my screen. So we need to create our project first, and we need to add the required dependencies. So I'm going to create a project, the development process. We have identified what are the tables that we need to take. One is counselor table, another one is inquiries table. And in that inquiries table, we need to maintain counselor ID as a foreign key. So without counselor ID, we can't implement this application. Without counselor ID, we can't implement this application. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, Manasa, sir. I did little bit knowledge of my, as per my knowledge, I did, sir. Uh,
Do you want to share your screen?
yes, sir.
Yeah, please. You can share.
Sir, are visible, sir?
Yes, I can see this.
Yes, sir. I am using Spring Starter project, sir.
Mhm.
In that, I am using dependencies, Spring Data JPA, and Timely Web Dev Tools,
Mhm.
and Lombok dependency for Redis boilerplate code, sir.
Okay.
For entities, in the counselor class, I had taken this variables, sir.
Okay.
For this, I am using Lombok dependency entity, direct entity annotation to create the database in automatically. Also, I am using Oracle database, sir. And
Okay.
this inquiry, one more class I had taken, sir. Here I am writing the relationship between counselor to inquiry, sir. In that, I use a relationship many to one, sir.
Mhm.
And that at the table annotation in that table, if we are using this annotation, if we are not using, then it will take class name as the table name. So that's why I'm using this annotation. And at the rate data for getter setter methods and no organ structure for this, I'm using at the rate data, sir, for Lombok dependency. And
Okay.
at the rate entity, it is automatically table created in the database, sir. I'm
Okay.
using Oracle database in that created table automatically, sir.
Okay.
And in service repository, I'm using counselor repo and inquiry repo, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Coming to request. In that request, I had taken this variables, sir.
Mhm.
And this response also I created in the dashboard. For this total inquiries, pending inquiries, resolve inquiries, I take this method, sir. In
Okay.
coming to service layer, in service layer, save counselor method and get all counselors methods. Get counselor by ID. Save the counselor means it whatever data we are sent from this, it automatically saved in the database, sir. So by using get all counselor, we are get the all counselor information we are getting, sir, by using this interface. And get counselor ID whenever we are given the ID, uh, basing on that, we can get that, sir. Based on the ID, get all details. And
Mhm.
these three methods I had taken, sir. For implementation, I am take separate package, sir.
Okay.
These are the implementations, sir.
Very
So
good.
here, repository, I automate the repository, sir, for connected to database. And that's why automate from that, we are getting the all details and by using ID. These all are the repository predefined methods, sir. Spring Data JP repository method, find all, find by ID.
Mhm.
This also.
This method is wrong, right? The last method, filter inquiries method, go to inquiry service. So
Yes,
you are
sir.
calling
Yes.
find all
I
method,
have.
it will give all the
Uh,
inquiries. Filter is
yes,
not
sir. And yes,
implemented
sir.
there.
Yes. Yes.
And whenever you are saving the inquiry, where you are setting the counselor ID for the inquiry.
Yes,
First
sir.
method, save inquiry method.
Yes, sir.
Counselor ID you are not setting to that method.
Last. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. A
So
little bit confusion for this IMPL, sir.
okay. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Good.
sir.
Good job. So some corrections are required for that. We'll do
Okay,
that.
sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So once
Okay,
I'm doing the code, then you compare that.
okay, sir. Can stop, sir?
Yes, you can. Fine, guys. Good. So now let us try to understand the implementation part of this project. So I have opened my IDE. So I'm going to create this project. So I'm hoping that you guys has done some coding part. Now you compare your coding with my coding, then you will understand how much implementation you have done. Okay. So development process that we are going to follow. The first step, we need to create a project with required dependencies. Okay. The very first step, create Spring Boot application. Create Spring Boot application with required with below dependencies. So what are the dependencies we are going to use? So the first step, we are using web starter. Second step, we are using first starter, we are using web starter. Second one, we are using time leaf. The next one, we are using data JPA, and we are using MySQL driver. Okay, and we are using dev tools. If you have installed Lombok dependency in your system, then you can add the Lombok also to generate setters and getters. Create Spring Boot application with below dependencies. I'm using web starter to develop a web application, and I'm using Timeleaf for the presentation, and I'm using data JPA to communicate with the database, and I'm using MySQL dependency to communicate with the MySQL database, and I'm using DevTools dependency to restart the server whenever there is a code change. Okay, so this is the process that we need to follow. New Spring Starter project. Okay, this is our first mini project, guys. So let me give the name 01 Counselors Portal. The project name Maven, Java, Java 17. Next, Spring Web, Timeleaf, Data JPA, DevTools, MySQL driver. So these are the 5 dependencies we are adding. DevTools to restart the server when there is a code change, Data JPA to communicate with the database, MySQL driver to load the MySQL driver to communicate with MySQL database, Timeleaf for the presentation, Web Starter to develop a web application, and it will provide Tomcat as the default embedded container for us. Then click on next and click on finish. Okay, good. So with this, our application got created. Now in this application, we need to configure data source properties. So the next step that we need to do, configure data source properties in application.properties file. So like, what is the database that you want to use, the database username, the database password, URL, we need to configure. So let me open MySQL Workbench. Let me open MySQL Workbench. So in that workbench, you can connect with your database, and the database properties you need to configure in your properties file. So my project got created, close unrelated projects. Yes, now go to the properties file. Here we need to configure our data source properties like spring.datasource.url. So with which database you want to connect, configure the data source URL, then data source username and a data source password. Data source username and data source password we are going to configure. Along with these things, we can configure some ORM properties also, like show SQL, format SQL, and auto DDL update. So like this, the properties will be available. DDL auto update and show SQL is true, format SQL is true. So like this, we can configure data source properties and ORM properties. So here, our database name is JRTP 27. So connect with the database, MySQL database, and I'm going to create that database. If the database is not available, then I'm going to create that database. So show databases. So here I can see show databases. What are the databases available? Yes. So here I don't have a database for JRTP. So I'm using create database JRTP 27. Then use JRTP 27. Now in that database, check the tables which are available, show tables. So this is a new database, no tables available. So I'm configuring JRTP 27 as a database. So with this, my properties configuration is completed. Data source properties as well as ORM properties also I have configured. So with which database you want to connect, URL of the database, username of the database, and password of the database. Okay, and the next one, properties, DDL auto, show SQL, format SQL, that we are going to configure here. Once it is completed, the next step, we need to create the entity classes and repository interfaces. Step 3, create entities and repository interfaces. We need to create the entity classes and we need to create the repository interfaces. Keep a separate package, new package in.ashokit.entities, one package, and new package in.ashokit.repositories. Repos I'm keeping in one package, entities in one package, new class. So first table, which is a counselor. So I'm taking one entity with a name called counselor, and second entity, that is inquiry, new class inquiry. Two entities we are going to create, and we need two repositories, new interface. The repositories, counselor repository we are creating, and this is basically interface, and another one is inquiry repository we need to create, inquiry repository. All right, so two tables we are taking. As per our analysis, we are going to deal with two tables in our application. One is a counselor table, another one is inquiries table. So here, to represent Java class, to map our Java class with the database table, we are taking one entity. That entity is called as counselor entity. So how to represent this as an entity? For that, we are using one annotation called @entity annotation. We are using annotation called @entity. If you want to map it with a table, then you can use @table annotation, and the name is equal to counselor table. If you don't write the table name, no problem. It will take the class name as a table name. Then variables. What are the columns we need? Counselor ID, counselor name, email ID, password, phone number, created date, and updated date. Okay, so these are the variables that we need to take here. Inside the counselor table, these are the variables that we need to take. Right now, so let me declare a variables for them. Private integer counselor ID, private string name, private string email, private string password, private long phone number, private local date which is created date, and private local date which is updated date. So these are the variables that we are taking in the counselor table. So out of these variables, counselor ID we want to represent as a primary key. To represent as a primary key, we are going to use @ID annotation, and that ID should be generated automatically. ID we will not insert. So if you see in the requirement from the form, we are not going to get the ID. So we are going to get the name of the counselor. We will get the email, password, and phone number. But ID we will not get from the form. ID is something which should be auto-generated by our application. ID is something which should be auto-generated by our application. So that is the reason ID we are going to use as primary key with the generation. Okay. So if you see the requirement in the registration form, when the counselor is registering, we will get the name, we will get the email, password, phone number. We are not going to get the ID. So that's why we are going to use @generated value annotation with the strategy as identity. Strategy is equal to identity. When you use strategy as identity, then the primary key value will be auto generated by using auto increment concept. When you use generated value strategy as a identity, primary key value will be auto generated. Okay, ID and @generated value. For the email ID, you can specify @column. Specifying @column is optional. Specifying @column is optional, guys. So unique is equal to true. For this name, password, phone number, column if you don't specify, no problem. Variable name will be considered as a column name. And for the dates, here I'm going to use one annotation which is creation timestamp, and here I'm using updation timestamp. So whenever the record is created date column value should be populated. Whenever the record is updated date should be populated. You no need to set the value. You no need to set the value for the created date and updated date. So when you use this annotation, when the record is inserted in the table, this column value will be auto populated. Whenever you update the record in the table, this column value will be auto populated. You no need to set the created date and updated date for the values in the table. So that's why we are using creation timestamp and we are using update timestamp. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? What is created date and what is updated date? Creation timestamp and updated timestamp. So here writing at the rate column annotation, that is optional. If you don't write, this variable name will be considered as a column name. For the email, we need to specify unique is equal to true. So email should be unique in the table. That's why I'm writing at the rate column unique is equal to true. Then let us generate setters and getters for the variables. For the entity class variables, setters and getters are mandatory to set the data and to get the data. So with this, my counselor entity is ready. Look at this. I'm using at the rate entity annotation to represent this Java class as a entity class. And I'm writing at the rate table annotation to represent this as mapped with this particular table. If I don't write it also, no problem. It will consider class name as a table name. If you want to give different table name, then we will use at the rate table annotation. Then counselor ID. So I want to represent this as a primary key. For that, I'm using at the rate ID annotation. For the primary key, I want to auto generate the value. For that, I'm using generated value annotation with the strategy identity. For the MySQL database, we will use identity. If anybody is using Oracle database, then use sequence generator. If anybody using Oracle, use a sequence generator. If anybody using MySQL, then go with identity generator. Then column unique true. Dates, creation timestamp, update timestamp. What is the benefit of using these annotations? You no need to set the value for created date and updated date. They will be populated. When the record is inserted, created date will be populated. When the record is updated date will be populated. Are you guys clear with this point? The entity creation for the counselor. Are you clear with the entity creation for the counselor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
I have a question.
yes.
So I have written here the ID as an integer or primitive type. So
Take a wrapper class. Don't take the primitive types.
okay. And next one I have taken here date.
Anything is fine. Local date or date, anything is fine. No problem.
Okay.
Okay. Next one.
You
Go
have
to
getters
inquiry
and setters
here.
there, right, sir?
Sorry?
Getters and setters are there, right, sir?
Yes, sir. It's mandatory. For the variables, you need to generate the setters and getters.
Okay, sir.
If you are using Lombok, then you no need to write it. Simply you can write at the rate data annotation. So in my IDE, Lombok is not installed. That's why I'm writing getters and setters manually.
Sir,
Okay.
So no need of construction, Ashok.
Constructor by default zero param constructor will be generated, right? If you don't write a constructor, Java compiler will add one default constructor for our class.
Okay,
Got it?
thank you.
Yeah. Now, next go for inquiry. Okay. So let me go with at the rate entity here. I want to make it as an entity class and at the rate table. So table is optional. If you don't want the table name, then class name will be considered as a table name. Then at the rate entity and at the rate table. And here carefully we need to observe there is a foreign key relationship. So which counselor is adding the inquiry in our system, we should be maintaining that by using foreign key relationship. So these are the variables that I need to take in the inquiry entity. inquiry ID, student name, phone number, course name, class mode, inquiry status, created date, updated date, and counselor ID is coming as a foreign key. Right. So first let me take private integer inquiry ID and private string student name, private string student phone number, private string course they want to join, course name, private string class mode whether they want to go for offline or online, private string inquiry status, and private local date which is created date, and private local date which is updated date. Right? So these are the variables we need. Along with these things, we need counselor ID as a foreign key. Okay, let me keep it aside for now. Counselor ID we need as a foreign key. Remaining things are clear. Inquiry ID, student name, student phone number, course name, class mode, status, created date, updated date. We are good. So here we need to represent inquiry ID as a primary key. So in every table, one primary key will be available. To represent a primary key, we are going to use @ID annotation. And this inquiry ID will not come from the form. So if you see the requirement, inquiry when they are adding, they are giving the name, phone number, class mode, course name, status. Okay. So ID will not come. ID should be auto generated. For that we are using one annotation, that is @generated value. And strategy for this, I'm using identity strategy. As it is a MySQL database, when I go with identity strategy, then auto increment will be applicable for that. When I go for generation type as identity, then that means auto increment will be applicable for this concept. ID, generated value, the strategy, generation type we are using as identity. All right, inquiry ID, student name, phone number, course name, class mode, status, created date, updated date.
Sir,
Now
for
here,
course name,
tell me, course name,
class mode, inquiry status. We can use enum, sir.
anything is fine, sir. You can use a enum or you can take direct the variables also. Okay, good. Next one, counselor ID. And if you observe, counselor ID is a primary key in the counselor table, which we are using as a foreign key in the inquiries table. So when we are saving the inquiries in the database, then we need to understand which counselor has saved this inquiry. Which counselor has saved this inquiry, we need to represent the relationship. So to represent that relationship, we are taking private counselor. Okay. And what is the relationship? So can you tell me the relationship between the inquiry and counselor? Can I say
One too many.
Can I say
Many to one, sir.
multiple inquiries can be added by one counselor?
Yes.
Can I say multiple inquiries can be added by one counselor? Yes.
One to many
Yeah.
relationship.
So from here, we are going to represent this as many to one relationship. Okay. So I'm looking the relationship from the inquiry side. Multiple inquiries, many inquiries can be added by one counselor. So we are using many to one relationship. Okay. And the relationship we are representing by using join column, and the column name is equal to, we are going to use as counselor ID. So what is the column that we are taking for the foreign key relationship? The column name we are taking as a counselor ID. That means counselor table primary key we are going to store in the inquiry table as a foreign key. So when we look at the inquiry table, we will understand this inquiry is added by which counselor. So many to one relationship. That means many inquiries can be added by one counselor. In the inquiry table, counselor ID column will be available. Based on that counselor ID, we can understand this inquiry is added by which counselor. Many to one relationship we are representing. Are you clear? Very good.
Join column is optional or mandatory?
Sorry? Join column is
So
mandatory, sir. You need to specify that. Then only that column will be considered as a foreign key column. Then generate setters and getters for these variables now. We have generated setters and getters for these variables.
Sir, join column, we should not give inquiry ID, right, sir? Only counselor ID we have to give, right, sir? Because inquiry already there.
No, inquiry ID is a primary key. Join column means what is the column which is establishing the relationship between counselor table and inquiry table. So counselor table primary key we need to store as a foreign key here. We need to give the counselor ID as a join column, not the inquiry ID.
Right, sir. Okay, sir.
You got my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, very good, guys. So with this, our entity classes are clear. Now, here we need to specify @creation timestamp. Okay, dates should be auto-populated. We don't need to set manually. This is timestamping concept in the data JPA. One is creation timestamp. Another one is update timestamp. One is create timestamp. Another one is update timestamp.
So is it mandatory to write this? Is it mandatory to write @creation timestamp and the annotation?
If you don't write it programmatically, you need to set the dates when you are inserting the record and when you are updating the record. If you don't write these annotations, programmatically you need to set the created date, updated date when you are inserting the record and when you are updating the record. If you write these annotations, then you no need to set. JPA will take care of the values for those two columns in the database.
So here we can give insertable false also.
Yeah, that we can give. Insertable is equal to false, updatable is equal to false also. You can specify. I will explain that later.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, guys, are you clear with the entities now? So can anyone tell me how many of you done the wrong entities creation? Apart from these dates, so the relationship, how many of you did a mistake in creating the entity classes? I told you to create the entity classes last week. Okay, now I have created entities in front of you. You just compare the entities you created, the entities I have created, matching or not.
Sir, some IDs do the reverse engineering, right, sir? We can use that kind of feature, sir.
If the tables are already available, generating the entity classes, yeah, that also you can do. If you create the tables first, then from the tables you can generate the entity classes. Yes, you can do that also. JPA tools, if you install, then you can do the reverse engineering part.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can I take phone number as a string?
Which one?
Phone number as a string.
You can take, sir, anything is fine. Phone number as a string, or you can take it as a long value.
Okay, sir. I had taken a string. Okay, sir, I will change it.
I will change to long.
Sir, here you are performing means bidirectional, sir, in between two stable.
No, unidirectional. Unidirectional. So in only one table, the relationship we are establishing, not in both tables.
Sorry, your inquiry should be taken integer. Int is fine now.
Sorry, sir, don't take the primitive data types in the entity classes, sir. You need to take the wrapper classes.
Sir, why I want that, sir.
Why? I means I will show you when I am filtering the inquiries. I will show you the reason why we need to take the wrapper classes. You can take the primitives also.
Sir, if you take primitive, sir, then it will take by default null value, sir.
Default value 0.
Yes, sir, default 0.
Yeah. To avoid the default values, we are taking the wrapper classes. For the wrapper classes, the default values are null. Null values will be ignored. I will show you practically. In the Spring Boot class, I have explained practically why we need to take wrapper class instead of primitive type. In the query by example concept, I have discussed this concept practically.
Sir, phone number we will get like dashes and brackets like that, right, sir? If it is string, it is better,
then
right, sir?
For US numbers, hyphens, dashes will be there. You can take a string. For the Indian numbers, only number will be there. So you can go with long value.
Right, sir.
And
And
according to your project requirement, you can change the data type, sir. That's not a big deal.
right, sir. Why we are doing only unidirectional, sir, not bidirectional here, sir?
That's not required here. Okay, so we just need to identify which inquiry is acted by which counselor. That's why we are doing unidirectional.
Okay, okay.
And sir,
Bidirectional we do both sides
Guys,
if we
can
need.
we take the doubts at the end of the session? So if it is
Okay,
like
sir.
this, class will not happen. Shall I continue first? Yeah. So my
Yes, sir.
entity classes
Go ahead.
are ready. I have created the entity classes. Now I need to go for the repository. So as we are using JPA, we just need to create the repositories by extending the properties from JPA repository. So just let me go here and extend the properties from JPA repository. It is a counselor repository. So the entity for this is a counselor, and the primary key data type is an integer here. The primary key data type is integer here. So this is counselor repo. So that's it. You don't need to do anything else. When your interface is extending the properties from JPA repository, then we can access all the methods of the JPA in order to perform CRUD operations. Go for inquiry repo, then extends the properties from again JPA repository. Okay, so the entity class which is inquiry here, and the primary key is integer. Primary key data type is integer. So with this, our entities are ready and our repository is also ready. Once it is done, then create DTO classes. Okay, create DTO, or we can say model, whatever it is. These DTO are model classes. Okay, create DTO or model classes. Now, in order to do this one, we are going to, in order to do this one, we are going to use two classes here. One is dashboard response class, and view inquiry filter request class. Okay, we are going to talk about view inquiry filter, and we are going to talk about view inquiries. View inquiries, filter, and dashboard response. So let me create them as binding classes, or we can create them as DTO classes. Anything is fine. New package in.ashokit.dto. Now in that I'm creating one class which is dashboard response, which will represent the response that we need to send for dashboard. And the next one, another class, view inquiries filter, view inquiries filter, view inquiries filter. What is the class name that we have taken? View inquiry filter request. View inquiries filter request class we are going to take. Okay, now inside the dashboard response, what are the variables we need to take? So inside the dashboard response, if you observe, total inquiries open, enrolled, lost inquiries data is available. So let me take the variables: private, long, total inquiries, private, long, open inquiries, private, long, enrolled inquiries, okay, private, long, lost inquiries. So these are the variables I'm taking in the dashboard response: total, open, enrolled, and lost. So this is, you just use it to represent the data. So let me generate setters and getters for these variables. Let me generate setters and getters for these variables. Dashboard response class. These are the variables I'm taking. Total inquiries, and open inquiries, enrolled inquiries, and lost inquiries available. Okay, dashboard response class we have taken. Then view filter request. What is the purpose of filter request? In order to filter the inquiries, class mode, course name, inquiry status. Based on that, we can filter the data. So for this filtering the data, three conditions available to filter the data. Based on the class mode, we can filter. Based on the course name, we can filter. Based on the inquiry status, we can filter. Okay, so let me take three variables: private string, course name, okay, private string, class mode, private string, inquiry status. Inquiry status. So these are the three conditions I'm going to get in order to filter the data. These are the three conditions I'm going to get in order to filter the data. So dashboard response class, which is used to send the data to display in the dashboard based on the logged in counselor, and inquiry filter request. This form is representing the filter conditions. When the counselor go to view inquiry page, they want to see the filter and they can filter the data. To get the filter form, we are going to use three variables: course name, class mode, and inquiry status. All right, good. So with this, we are able to create the entities, repositories, and we have created DTO classes also. First step, we created our boot application with dependencies. Second step, we configure data source properties. Third step, we created our entities and repository interfaces. We created DTO classes. We have two DTOs. One is dashboard response. Another one is inquiry filter request class is available. Then next one, create service interface and IMPL. Create service interfaces and IMPL classes with the required methods. This is the most important part for the developer. You need to analyze what are the methods required in order to implement our application. What are the business methods that we need to implement for our application? Okay, so we need to take two interfaces here as we discussed already. One is counselor service, another one is inquiry service. So let me create service interfaces and IMPL classes. New interface dot service. One is counselor service, another one is inquiry service. One is counselor service, another one is inquiry service, right? So we need to identify the methods guys. We need to identify the methods which are required for our application. Okay, now first let us go to counselor service. So what operations that counselor functionality we are performing in the counselor functionality in our application? So the first thing, counselor can log in and counselor can register. Counselor can log in and counselor can register. Okay, so this is the functionality that we need to implement for this. Then coming to counselor dashboard is available and inquiry is available, adding inquiry, view inquiry is available, and filter inquiries functionality available. Counselor login, counselor can register, and counselor dashboard is available. So here, based on that, we need to implement the functionality. Based on that, we need to implement our functionality. So here, I'm going to take one method first, public. Then we need to write one method, public boolean login. So to check the login, string email ID and string password we are going to take. So this is one method. Guys, this is the most important part for the programmer. What are the methods we need to write? What are the parameters we need to take? And what are the return types we need to take for the method? That is the most important part. Okay, so first one, login method. Okay, login with email ID and password. And the next public boolean register method. To do the registration, I'm going to take counselor object as a parameter. Counselor registration will happen. So the registration means the form data, counselor details we are getting. So I'm taking one object as a parameter and I'm writing register method. So when the registration is successful, this method will return true. If the registration is failed, this method will return false value. Same thing is applicable for login also. If given credentials are valid, this method will return true. If given credentials are invalid, this method will return false value. So the method return type to understand the status of the functionality. Login is a success or a login is failed. Registration is a success or registration is failed. We will understand based on this functionality. We will understand based on this functionality. Counselor service, counselor login, counselor registration. And here we are taking one more method, public dashboard response, get dashboard info. So this dashboard info we are going to get based on counselor ID. Which counselor will log in into the application? Based on that person ID, we need to get the dashboard data. So I'm writing one method. This method is taking counselor ID as a parameter, and this method is giving dashboard response as a return type. So when counselor is registered, so counselor data we are taking as a object, and this method will return true or false value. Registration is a success or registration is a failure. Similarly, we are taking a login method. So it is taking email ID and password. If login is a success, this method will return true. If the login is failed, this method will return false value. Then next one, dashboard response. Once the login is successful, if the counselor login is successful, then I will get the dashboard data based on the counselor who logged in into the application. Based on the counselor who logged in into the application, based on that, I'm going to get the dashboard response. Based on that, I'm going to get the dashboard response. If login is successful, then dashboard response. Here, we need to make a small correction. So if the login is successful, then if I return Boolean, only true or false. Only true or false value. Instead of this, I need to return counselor object as a parameter. Yes. So this is the correct. So for the login method, I'm going to take the counselor object as a return type. Why? Because which counselor is logged in, I should know that. Because once the login is successful, I need to get the dashboard. So which counselor logged in, we should know the counselor ID. Based on that counselor ID, we can get the dashboard data. If I take Boolean, only I can see true or false. Login success, login failed. If login success, which counselor logged in? I need that counselor ID. So that is the reason I'm returning counselor object as a return type for the login method. So if login is success, that object will contain the counselor ID. Based on that counselor ID, I can get the dashboard data. Based on that, I can get the dashboard data. All right. For the register method, I'm taking only Boolean with a true or false value. For the login method, I'm taking object as a return type. Why I am taking object as a return type? Which person is logged in? I should know the ID of that person. Then only I can get the inquiries for the dashboard. Inquiry counts for the dashboard. If I take only Boolean, true or false, I don't know which counselor logged in successfully. So that's why my method is returning counselor object as a parameter, as a return type. Taking email ID and password. If login is successful, it will return counselor object. If login is successful, it will return counselor object. If login is failure, it will be null value. If it is success, counselor data will be available, counselor ID will be available. Based on that counselor ID, who logged in, then I can get the dashboard data. So inside the counselor service, I'm taking three methods here. One is register method, another one is login method, another one is get a dashboard information method. Okay, then coming to Inquiry service. Go to inquiry service. So what functionalities are there in the inquiry service? Add the inquiry. This is one functionality. Okay. So public boolean add inquiry. So let us take inquiry object as a parameter. Okay. Add inquiry. That is one method. The next one, view inquiries. When we click on view inquiries, all the inquiries will be displayed here. So I'm going to take one method, public list of inquiries. Public list of inquiries we are going to mention. That means first time when they click on view inquiry, we are going to get all the inquiries. So add inquiry and get all inquiries will be available. Get all inquiries will be available to get all the inquiries data. And next one, filter the inquiries. First we need to get all the inquiries, then they can filter the inquiries also. So to filter the inquiries, again we are taking one more method, public list of inquiry, get inquiries with the filter. So what is the filter condition? View inquiry filter request is available. Filter request object I'm taking as a parameter. Based on that filter request, we are going to get all the inquiries. And this filtering the requests, filtering the inquiries also based on the counselor ID. So I'm not going to get all the inquiries which are available in the system. I'm going to get the inquiries based on the counselor ID. Based on the counselor ID, I'm going to get all the inquiries. Here also, when you are adding the inquiry based on the counselor ID, when you are filtering the inquiries also based on the counselor ID. Which counselor is adding the inquiry? Inquiry data we will get, and counselor ID also we are going to get. So based on the counselor ID, we will add the inquiry in the database. Based on the counselor ID, who is logged in, based on the logged in counselor ID, we will get the inquiries. When inquiry filter is applied, based on the counselor ID, we are going to apply the filter. So this is the functionality. This is the functionality that we are going to implement. In the counselor service, 3 methods available: register method, login method, and get the dashboard data method. In the inquiry service, 3 methods available: adding the inquiry, getting all the inquiries, get inquiries with a filter. And here the most important thing, what is the method I am taking, what is the parameter I am taking for the method, and what is the return type I am taking for the method. What is the parameter I am taking for the method, and what is the return type I am taking for the method. Now, so are you guys able to understand the 3 methods I am taking in the counselor service first? Are you guys able to understand the 3 methods I'm taking in the counselor service first?
Sir, for last method, sir, could you explain a little bit more, sir, for last method return type and
when the counselor is logged in successfully, we need to get the dashboard data of that counselor. This is the last method. And inquiry service is available. Here we are taking 3 methods. Counselor service, we are having 3 methods. In the inquiry service also we have 3 methods. So counselor can register in our application. So to handle the registration functionality of the counselor, we have taken a register method, which is taking counselor object as a parameter. It will return boolean, true or false. That means registration successful or registration failure. Counselor login, we will take the email ID and password. We will check the login functionality. If login is successful, we will get the counselor object. If login is failure, we will get the null value. Why we are taking object as a parameter? We need counselor ID. Why we need counselor ID? If login is successful, I need to get the dashboard data. Which counselor logged in? That person, based on that person ID, I need to get the dashboard data. So for that, I have taken one method, get dashboard data. This is person who logged in, that person ID I need. Based on that ID, I will get the dashboard response. I will send the data for the dashboard page in the form of object. For this, I am taking one method. The next one, after login, after seeing the dashboard, counselor can go and add the new inquiry. they can see the inquiries also. So there is a method called add inquiry method is available. Inquiry form data we are going to get, and counselor ID also we are going to get. Based on the counselor ID, we will add the inquiry in the table. And after adding the inquiry, counselor can go and see all the inquiries they have added, view inquiries. When they click on view inquiries, based on the logged in counselor ID, we will get all the inquiries which are added by that particular person. Then after seeing the inquiries, they can go and do the filtering also here, view inquiries. They want to search for only Java inquiries. They can select the course as Java and they can click on search. So when they click on the search button, to handle that search request, we are having a one more method, get inquiries with the filter request we are taking, counter ID also we are taking. Based on the person who logged in, based on the filters conditions they will select, we are going to retrieve the inquiries and we are going to display in the table. So total 6 methods we are writing in the service layer. 3 methods in the counselor service, 3 methods in the inquiry service.
Sir, if we don't have view inquiry filter request, can we still handle this scenario, sir?
No. If you don't have that request, now how you will implement this search functionality?
Right, sir, right.
Now guys, I want to know how many of you done the wrong analysis for the methods. You got the 2 days of time to analyze the methods, right? Now you tell me your analysis is matching with this analysis or not. How many of you done the wrong analysis for
I have done wrong
service
analysis.
methods?
Partial
I
analysis.
have done
And
wrong
sir,
analysis, sir, in
The
the
people who has done the
service.
wrong
Partial
analysis,
analysis.
please type in the chat box. I want to know, guys. I want to know
Wrong.
how many of you thinking
Yes,
properly,
sir.
how many of you are not thinking properly. Send a message, my analysis is wrong.
Hello, Ashok. I have one doubt.
Doubts I will take at the end of the session. Just please
Okay.
compare your analysis and tell me your analysis is correct or not correct. Come on, guys, make it quick.
So when counselor perform inquiry operation, counselor should not edit the counselor ID, right?
Sorry, sir, 1 minute. Do we have this edit functionality? Yes, 1 minute. The analysis is not completed. Edit functionality is available. When we are editing the functionality, we need to write one more method, public inquiry, get inquiry by ID. We are going to take inquiry ID as a parameter.
guys, please send a message to host.
Yeah, by default, it's changing from host to yours name. I don't know why.
I shared my screen now, that's why. First, that's it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what you have said?
Now you
Whenever
can
you
send
open
it
the
to
chat
me.
box, there are multiple names. Course and
So there
course.
is one more method, guys. So this method is basically, we are going to implement edit functionality here, right? So get inquiry by ID. So this method is used to edit that particular inquiry. After editing the inquiry, then we can update the inquiry. Okay. To update the inquiry, we can use the same method, add inquiry, which can act as upsert method. So this is another method that we need extra in order to implement edit inquiry functionality. Now tell me, how many of you has done the wrong analysis now? Check my methods, and compare with your methods. Whatever you have analyzed, is it correct or not? If it is wrong, then please type a message, my analysis is wrong.
Sir, I took find by ID for
That is fine,
editing.
sir. Method name can be
Okay.
anything. Find by ID, get inquiry by ID, that is fine.
Okay, sir.
Hi Ashok, if
You
counselor
check
need to
method,
update.
parameter and return types are matching or not.
Hi Ashok, if counselor need to update lost inquiry or success like that, there is any method?
Get inquiry by ID. Yes, sir. Here there is a method called add inquiry, right? They can set the inquiry update functionality. We can update the inquiry.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashok.
Excuse me, sir.
One
Sir,
minute, guys.
instead
One
of
minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Get inquiry by ID. They will get the inquiry. Then they are going to click on update. We will get the form data and we will reset that form data. Yes, that's fine. Add inquiry method can handle that. Guys, so just observe this. I will be back in 2 minutes. Just compare your analysis. And if your analysis is wrong, then please correct it and type a message. Your analysis is wrong. I will be back in 2 minutes. Yeah, fine, guys. Now, tell me any questions that you guys are having on this analysis. I see that many people has done the mistakes in the analysis part. I see that many people has done the mistakes in the analysis part. So your thought process has to change, guys. Your thought process has to change. And this analysis, you need to improve. You need to improve this analysis part. Okay, you know already what is a class, you know what is method, what is parameter, what is return type. But based on the given requirement, what parameter we need to take, what return type we need to take, okay, that part you need to improve. Tomorrow, once you join in the company, nobody will tell you this analysis part. Tomorrow, once you join in the company, nobody will tell you this analysis part. So if you are able to do this analysis, that means you are independent programmer. You can develop any type of requirement if you can do this kind of analysis. If you are not able to do this analysis now, then you need to improve, and that will come based on the practice only. There is no shortcut to improve your analysis skill. By looking at the requirement, you need to understand what are the classes we need to take, what are the methods we need to take, what are the parameters we need to take, and what are the return types we need to take, that you need to analyze. Now, anybody not able to understand this analysis of service methods? Anybody having any questions on these service methods, parameters, and return types? You can ask me now.
Sir, get inquiry by ID is mandatory. Last
Yes,
one method.
sir, because here when we go for the inquiry screen now, there is a edit button is available.
Yes,
when you
sir.
click on the edit, that particular inquiry we need to get based on the ID, and we need to display in the editable mode. So for that, this method is mandatory. Without this, you can't implement edit functionality.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, sir.
Can we add the delete inquiry method in that?
So if you want to implement a delete functionality, then you can add it. But generally, inquiries we don't delete in the general implementations. If you want, you can add the delete method and delete by ID. If you implement delete by ID, then that inquiry can be deleted.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, hi.
So in inquiry filter, if we give only one condition like class mode or
Anything.
course
All
or
the three are
status,
not mandatory. You can select only one. You can select
Yeah.
any two. You can select all the three also.
yeah, it will work, right?
Yes, based on that, we will filter the data. That is called dynamic filter. So if you select only mode, based on the mode, you can get it. You can select only course. You can select mode plus course. You can select all three. You can select any two. You can select any one also.
Yes, thank you. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, I had taken save inquiry and get all inquiries and get inquiry by ID and filter inquiries. 4 methods I had taken, sir.
Yes.
Sir, save inquiry is it to save the and data in the table? That's why I'm using this method, sir. Is it wrong, sir?
No, method name can be, that's fine. Here instead of add inquiry, we can take save inquiry. That is fine. Method naming, that can be different, but parameters and return types, you need to be more careful. Instead of add inquiry, you can take the save inquiry also.
Save
No
inquiries.
problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
That
Sir.
is fine. Name, that is fine. But the overall picture, 4 methods, what are the parameters, what are the return types we are taking, those things are important.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, why Boolean for add inquiry?
Say true or false, inquiry added successfully or not added successfully. Based on that, we need to display the success message or failure message in the UI, right? Whenever you click on the save method, you need to get success message or error message. Based on the Boolean, I can decide whether it is success or failure.
Okay. And sir, if any student didn't respond to the inquiry, then how to close that inquiry?
Sorry, student want to?
If any student didn't respond to the inquiry, like
we will keep it as open inquiry only. So we will add them. Students are not responding. We'll keep that in the open status only.
Okay.
After sometimes, then we will, if they are not responding, we'll update as lost inquiry.
Got it. Thank you.
Login method, or we should maintain password.
Sir, can we use return type as string for
which
the
one?
save method for the add inquiry or save inquiry?
So if you use return type as a string now, then you can do that. You can return success message or error message. That is fine, but it will be difficult for you to decide whether it is success or failure in the UI.
Yes, sir. Right, sir. Right.
In console,
So Boolean is appropriate, true, false. Easily you can understand whether it is success or failure with the Boolean conditions.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, in console login method, its
Sorry,
password should be.
your voice is not audible, sir.
Am I audible now, sir?
No, sir, very low. I can't hear you properly.
Is it fine?
Yeah, you need to speak more louder.
Yeah, okay, sir. In console login method, that string password is matching with that variable declaration, or we have to maintain other?
No problem, sir. So these are just method parameters, right? Whatever the variable names you are taking, they no need to match with the entity class.
Okay, sir.
Okay, they don't need to match with the entity class. That is fine. These are just method parameter names. Can be anything. You can take A, B also.
Sir,
Okay,
in my analysis, there are some gaps, sir. So I was just wondering where I can find more of these FDDs, sir, like maybe like 50, 100 FDDs. That way I can analyze
Sir,
all the
you
50,
can't
100.
find like this, sir. You can't find like that.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because people will not give these kind of FDDs in the internet, right?
Yeah, that's what, sir. I am not able to find anywhere, sir. How to improve this analysis skill, sir, which is important,
You
right?
need to
After
do practice.
seeing,
You need to take different requirements and you need to practice.
right, sir. But the FDDs I'm not getting, sir, to do more practice.
You will not get the FDD. You need to see the project and you need to analyze. That's it.
Oh,
It is a training. That's why I'm giving the FDD for you. But why people will give the FDD in the internet for you?
right, sir. Right, sir.
Yeah. You are paying the money for me. That's why I'm giving it to you. Why people will give for free of cost?
Got it, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, whatever you have taken methods, same methods I had taken, sir. But one more extra method I am taking. Is it correct, sir? List of inquiries. Filter the inquiries also I had taken one method, sir. Is it okay, sir?
Yeah, so 2 methods I have taken. Get all inquiries based on the counselor ID. Get inquiries with the filter based on the counselor ID I'm taking. 2 methods I have taken already. Why third method extra?
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, sir. I can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Sir, how to decide the perfect return type?
That comes based on your experience. How to decide the parameter, how to decide the return type. That is what analysis, right? Blindly we can't take the return types. No? So there is a method called get inquiries method is available. What is the meaning of get inquiries? We need to get all the inquiries in the table and we need to display in the UI. More than one inquiry will be available. So list of inquiries we will get. That's why we'll take the return type as a list of inquiry. When we are going for edit method, based on the ID, we will edit one record. So for one inquiry, we are getting from the database. So we are taking one object as a return type. So it depends on your analysis method. What is the parameter? What is the return type? That comes based on practice. That comes based on experience.
Sir,
That is what you need
can
to
you
improve.
sir, can you take get inquiry by ID return type is optional instead
Yeah,
of
that is fine.
inquiry?
If you want to, I mean, null pointer exceptions, if you want to handle, then you can take optional as a return type also, no problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But anyhow, we are going to get the optional object. When we are implementing this method, find by ID, we are going to call, that will give you optional object only. You no need to take the optional as a return type. JPA will give you the optional object. From there, you will get the object and you will return that.
Sir, can you show those repos classes one more time, sir? That
There is
repos.
nothing, sir. Just empty repositories I have created as of now. If any methods required, we need to add in the implementation time. It is just
Can
one
you
interface
throw
extending from the JPA
some
repository.
exception?
Oh, okay, sir. Okay. Where are those DTOs, sir? Can you show the DTOs, sir, one other time? Oh, it's there in the
They
DTO
are in a
package, right, sir?
different package. Dashboard response one DTO and filter request is another DTO.
So where are the counselor and inquiry, sir? Can you show
They
those
are
two
entities.
entities, sir?
Counselor.java is one entity. Inquiry.java is another entity. I
So
have
there is no
created
POSOs, sir?
everything in the today's class only.
No POSOs, sir? Just simple POSOs are not there, sir, for counselor and inquiry?
You can DTOs, you can call them as POJOs or bindings or models, anything, sir. Dashboard response, filter request. I have taken these things we can call as POJO also.
But counselor POSO, inquiry POSO is not there,
No,
sir?
not there, sir. Just I am taking only entities.
Only entities. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the steps I have followed today. I created a boot application with below dependencies, and I configured my data source properties in the application properties file. I created entities and repository interfaces with the association mapping, and I created DTO classes. One is dashboard response, another one is filter request, and I have created a service interface and IMPL classes with the required methods. So these are the things in the counselor service. These are the three methods in the counselor service. These are the three methods in the inquiry service. Now for these things, we need to create the IMPL classes, new class. So interface implementations, right? First one is counselor IMPL, which is going to implement a interface called counselor service IMPL. I'm going to take one class, which is counselor service IMPL. It is going to implement a interface called counselor service. So implementing an interface, nothing but we need to override all the methods which are available in that interface. So as this class is a implementation class, this is represented as a Spring Bean. For that we are using @service annotation, and we need to write the logic in all these three methods. Similarly, inquiry service interface available, and we need to provide the implementation for this inquiry service IMPL, the interface which is inquiry service. Finish. Then this is also one IMPL class. I will represent this as a Spring Bean by using @service annotation. Inquiry service IMPL and counselor service IMPL is available. Counselor service IMPL having three methods: register, login, and get dashboard data. Counselor service IMPL having four methods: add inquiry, get all inquiries, get inquiries with filter, get inquiry by ID. So you guys try to implement these methods before coming to tomorrow's session. In the tomorrow's class, I'm going to write the implementation for these methods. And once again, before you are seeing my implementation, I want you to try the logic implementation on your own. So in the tomorrow session, I will complete our service IMPL logic implementation. So how to implement register functionality, login functionality, dashboard response functionality, the core logics we are going to implement tomorrow. Today, just I have identified the methods required. Tomorrow, I will provide implementation for these methods, guys. Is that fine? Can you guys try this before coming to tomorrow's session?
Sir, controller is left, no, sir? Controller
Yes,
left.
controller is left. Once all the service functionality completed, then I will go for the controller.
Sir, could you please show once again how to implement directly when
Sorry?
creating IMPL class, sir?
Computer project,
Could
can
you
I show
please
it?
show once again, sir, how to implement control service directly while creating service IMPL class?
How to?
Implement control service directly while creating implement service IMPL class, sir.
I'm not getting your question, sir. Your voice is not clear, first of all.
Okay, sir, I will ping you.
Yeah, Chandrasekhar is telling, sir, means without service, means directly you want to use service IMPL layer.
Without
No
service
need to
interface.
declare the interface.
Without
Yeah, no
You
need
did
to
a
declare
shortcut,
the
right?
interface.
You did a shortcut, right? When creating a counselor IMPL, you did a shortcut like
Okay.
adding
Yeah,
the
he
counselor
has
service.
used override method. So
Get no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
here
he
you just
can.
need to you just need to add the interface which you want to implement. That's it. There is a add option, interface add option. Whenever you add the interface, then directly the methods implementation will come with dummy logic like this. Whenever you are creating a class, just select which interface it is going to implement. That's it.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, if
So
we don't
guys,
give @service, what happens, sir? @service if we miss.
if you don't give @service, this is a normal Java class. Auto wiring cannot happen with this class. You need to give for repository. You no need to give @repository because it is already extending from the JPA repository. @repository is not required. But for the service classes, @service is mandatory. Then only IOC container will create the object for your class. Then your class will be eligible for auto wiring.
Can we extend here also, sir, any class without that annotation?
No, no. You have to
Okay,
implement
sir.
this.
What
Sir,
error
you
will
need to
get, sir?
So first of all, you need to be strong in the Spring Boot, sir. These all are Spring Boot concepts.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if one question, if someone asks how you do FTD in your project, I mean all those way we understood, but what is the structural way to answer that? How we can answer?
Sir, once this project is completed, then you will get answers for all those questions, sir. Because we are doing the project, right? Once you complete one project completely, then you will get the full clarity. Complete SDLC model, you will understand. Okay. So, guys, what is the task for you today? What is the task for you today?
We have to implement the service layer.
Yes, I have given the service method names also in the notes. If anybody has done the mistakes in the methods, please correct it and try to implement these methods before coming to tomorrow's session. So that tomorrow you can see my implementation, then you can compare your implementation matching with my implementation or not. If you don't try the implementation, then there is no use, guys. You need to realize what is your weak point in the coding part. So today some people realized that their analysis skills are weak. So they need to improve that part. There is no shortcut for that. Practice is required, understanding the requirement. Your brain should change. Your thought process has to change. There is no, you can't learn this from someone. It comes based on the practice. It comes based on the experience. So try to do these things. So step by step, definitely within these 2 months of time, I will change your analysis skill. Somewhat I will change your analysis skill. With that, you can work on any kind of requirement. You can work on any type of project. Okay. So please try to implement this before coming to tomorrow's session. Tomorrow I will implement the service layer. Once it is completed, then we will start the controllers and the UI part. Okay. Good. So the target in this week, we need to complete the first mini project and we need to start the second mini project also. Thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hello,
sir, one question, sir. I am not having the access to the video, sir. I
Sir,
sent
I
a
told
message.
you to send the email to the admin team, sir.
Hello, Ashok,
right. I sent the email, sir. I will send one more time, sir.
Yeah, please send that once again, sir. Admin team will give the videos access for you.
hello,
okay, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Actually, yesterday I messaged to the admin team for that Spring Boot and microservices classes, but maybe due to Sunday they did not respond.
Yes,
so,
sir. Today they will respond, sir. So
today I want to join.
So leave. Today they will come to office and they will check and they will respond to your email.
But sir, now I want to join at 9:30 class. So how can I can join?
Just send an email to the admin team, sir. I will check that once.
Right now I can send it.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sir, email address one more time, sir, because that is bouncing for me, sir. Is it
ashok@therategmail.com?
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
That Saturday
Happy
evening
Raksha Bandhan,
Angular
sir.
class.
Today is Raksha Bandhan.
Yeah, happy Raksha Bandhan to all of you.
Sir, happy Raksha Bandhan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Happy Raksha Bandhan. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
So that Saturday evening Angular class is not uploaded yet. Will it will be?
So
Because
today
we
they will
need to
upload.
set up.
Today they will upload. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.